Doom, a game series well known and beloved by millions. If you couldn't tell, it's well known for being one of the foundations of the FPS genre, though where Wolfenstein or even some earlier titles might have been the ones that kick it off, or even bring the genre into existence, Doom was the one to hit it even further forward, with its, at the time, advanced engine. So advanced at the time that I'm pretty sure people back then saw it as some kind of alien technology. Although everyone back then saw everything that's new as aliens, so I don't really think that counts.
Speaking of aliens, let's have ourselves a small little history lesson. After the release and success of Wolfenstein 3D, everybody at id started work on its new expansion pack prequel, Spear of Destiny. Oh, for fuck's sakes, hold on. Spear of Destiny. Everyone that is except for John Carmack, where he started work on a brand new engine like none other before.
One with fully textured floors and ceilings that can have differing height levels that can be used as lifts, windows, stairs, or even crushers, varying light levels, non-perpendicular walls, and other stuff. As I alluded to earlier, the game was originally going to be a licensed tie-in game with the movie Aliens, and while negotiations were started with 20th Century Fox, id Software decided to abandon the plan so they can retain more creative freedom. Due to this decision, id Software needed a new idea, and one day, the boys were playing a good old game of D&D, where the game ended with demons overrunning the entire planet, and thus, their inspiration, I'm not sure, came to existence. Now, with their main inspiration, along with the main idea of it being a cross between two of their favorite B-horror movies, Evil Dead 2 and Aliens, they finally got to work, with John Carmack, John Romero, and Dave Taylor doing the programming, Adrian Carmack, no relation, and Kevin Cloud working on the graphics, music being done by independent contractor Bobby Prince, and with the designers being, again, John Romero and Tom Hall. Speaking of, Tom Hall was really unhappy developing the game, as he thought the team were getting way too minimalistic and rewarding players. And I think he also just wanted to make a new Commander Keen game too, I guess, but hell if I know. Despite that, he made a huge document dubbed the Doom Bible, with ideas for weapons, monsters, a hub system connected by monorails, and a story taking place on a planet called Tanga that, of course, gets overrun by demons, where you play as one of 4 playable characters, with a 5th character that would disappear during the game's intro. At the end of the 3rd episode, the entire planet of Tanga would be destroyed, with the player characters being blamed for it and sent to prison. And lastly, at the end of the final episode, you'll face off against a demon general, where, in the final scene, it'll show him angrily threatening to awaken the Ancient One. When shown the plot, John Carmack disapproved of it. He imagined Doom being nothing more but a simple, action-oriented game. In the book, Masters of Doom, he denoted that a story in a game is like a story in a porn movie. It's expected to be there, but it's not that important.
I like how that belief did not age well at all.
Everybody at id agreed with Carmack that Hall's levels emphasize realism with the cost of making the levels entertaining. And in the end, Tom was forced to resign, leaving at the beginning of the second half of '93. His position was later filled by Sandy Peterson, who was hired sometime between September and December before the game's release. Then finally, Doom was released on December 10th, 1993, with the shareware version being uploaded to the FTP servers at the University of Wisconsin.
When it was released, Doom was a smash hit. It sold millions of copies. Hell, it even outsold Windows 95. Which is kind of a dumb comparison to make because, one of them was an operating system and the other was a game that was on multiple operating systems and then later on consoles, which is, kind of an unfair, comparison, but whatever. The game was praised by both critics and players alike, to the point where there was a new genre that was made. A genre full of this first-person shooting action. Doom clones. Look, I don't make the rules. If your game was released before '98 and it was in first person and had shooting in it, your game was a clone of Doom.
Hell, every FPS that was released around that time was dubbed a Doom clone, including Rise of the Triad, Blake Stone, Duke 3D, Shadow Warrior Blood, Heretic, Hex, and Strife. Hell, I'm pretty sure many people even called Quake a clone of Doom, which is kind of a funny thing for me to say because, well, if you haven't noticed, it was made by the same damn people.
While Doom was also getting tons of praise, it was also getting a ton of controversy, especially from multiple different groups of people, like the media, religious groups, just basically anybody that didn't have anything better to do with their lives.
Yeah, people really did not like the demonic imagery in the game, despite the fact you yourself are killing demons. It's likely just another occurrence of people trying to blame video games for violence or cult activity or whatever. Or hell, maybe some people were still suffering from the satanic panic of the 1980s.
I'm pretty sure people are still delusional from it to this very day. Kinda depressing if you ask me.
The game, not counting the shareware version, came with 3 episodes with 8 maps each, so a total of 24 maps. And my friend, we're gonna go through each level, going over the enemies, weapons, mechanics, and giving my own short-ish opinions on each level, while getting 100% kills along the way. And our journey is gonna be done not through DOS or GZ Doom or even the new re-release by Night Dive, but instead through Crispy Doom, a source port based on another, Chocolate Doom. Choco Doom itself is basically like playing Doom back in the day or through DOSBox, just without having to go through the hassles of going through DOS. Crispy Doom is basically the exact same, but it has extra quality of life improvements, like high resolution rendering, uncapped frame rates far beyond the original 35 FPS, removed static limits from the original Doom engine, and even little things like colored blood for certain enemies.
Sounds great, right? But just before we start, there is just a tiny bit of plot explanation from the manual. It's nothing major, just something to set the scene of the game. And it goes to something a little like this.
You're an unnamed Marine sent to a post at Mars to guard a radioactive waste facility built by the Union Aerospace Corporation, or the UAC for short, primarily as punishment for assaulting a superior officer when given the order to fire upon civilians. Suddenly, there are reports of creatures swarming out of the teleportation gates on one of Mars's moons, Phobos. And for some reason, the other moon, Deimos, literally disappears. It's just gone. The Marine and a few others get sent to Phobos to investigate, with the Marine given the orders to secure the perimeter as the assault team and their heavy weapons are brought inside. However, radio contact soon ceases, and the Marine then realizes that he is the only survivor left, and being unable to fly the shuttle that brought him here, his only choice is to go in, fight through the complexes, and get his knee deep in the dead. E1M1, The Hangar, a highly memorable first level, but ignoring the fact that this is the first level, it's fine. It's short, easy, and it does its job to show players what they're getting into. Despite it being basic, it still has many things to talk about, but I'll go over a few for now, starting with the pistol, your starting weapon, which means you're not really going to be using it much after you get literally anything else. It does 5 to 15 damage in multiples of 5 and has a horizontal spread of 5.6 degrees. Although it can be constantly accurate if you wait for the firing frames to finish in between each shot. Press 1 or scroll your mouse wheel to bring out your fists, your stock melee weapon. It can do between 2 to 20 damage in multiples of 2 with a range of 32 units. It's even more useless than the pistol. Well, for now at least. At the start of the level, if you take a detour to the left, ignore this guys, you'll find yourself some green armor. There are 2 types of armor in this game, but for now we'll just go over the security armor, or green armor. It gives you 100 points of armor and makes you only take 66% of the damage from enemy attacks, while the remaining 33% is taken away from your armor. Last important thing to talk about before we leave is the enemies, starting with the weakest of them all, the Zombie Man, a human that's been possessed by the forces of hell. Or maybe a corpse that's been reanimated to be a foot soldier. I don't know. It has 20 health, and its attack is a single hit scan that does 3 to 15 damage in multiples of 3. Their low health makes them nothing more but a distraction, but in huge groups, or just being in a hard-to-reach place, can make them quite deadly, or at the very least an inconvenience. But why care about a stupid possessed human when we could take a look at a real demon? The Imp. This spiky bastard has 60 health and can attack you by either lobbing fireballs or slashing you with their claws, both doing 3 to 24 damage in multiples of, again, 3. While its long-range attack isn't as threatening as their gun-wielding colleagues, it can still be quite a threat, especially if you have nothing but a dinky little pistol. And of course, last but not least, for this level, the barrel. While not an enemy that can attack you directly, or an enemy in general, it still basically functions as one, having 20 points of health. When the barrel quote-unquote dies, it will explode, with a blast radius of 128 map units. Depending on how close you are to the barrel, that's the amount of damage you'll take when it explodes. And just like that, we're done with the first level. That took me way longer than it needed to. E1M2, Nuclear Plant. The level starts off with a warm welcoming, if you count bullets piercing your skull as welcoming. You are surrounded by zombie men, and when dealing with them, you'll likely notice that one of the doors is locked, forcing you to go hunt down a key. Before that, you can find a secret with a backpack, an item that'll simply double your ammo capacity. There's also a switch here that opens a way outside, where then you'll find a ton of shotgunners. A former human now with a shotgun, black clothes, and 10 more health points, with the trade-off of being bald. Their shotgun shoots out 3 pellets that does 3 to 15 damage each, in multiples of, again, 3. Of course, killing one will make them drop a shotgun. For some reason, it shoots 7 pellets with each doing 5 to 15 damage in multiples of 5 with a spread of 5.6 degrees. I don't know why the shotgun is better when you're the one using it, but oh hey, a chain gun! The chain gun is essentially a faster automatic pistol that fires 2 bullets for each trigger pull. Enough said. And lastly out here, there's the Supercharge, or Soul Sphere. It gives you 100 health and can heal over 100%. Enough said. Again. Anywho. Nuclear Plant is Nuclear Plant, a good early map that isn't essentially a straight line to the finish like Hangar, requiring you to grab a red key to continue to the other half of the level. And, if you want to, you can enter an optional dark maze. Optional if you're seeking to get 100% kills and or secrets, with one of the secrets containing another backpack and the other containing a chainsaw. Only accessible by shooting this wall. Who the hell designed this building? The chainsaw! It's your fist, but faster. Moving on. When you're done snooping around in the maze, the rest of the level is a cakewalk. You might have a hiccup with this cramped room before the exit, and maybe even in the exit, but I'll doubt anyone will even have a problem with it. E1M3, Toxin Refinery. Now this is where things start to get spicy. As soon as you open the door, you'll get ambushed by enemies, including the Pinky Demon. Practically a giant wall that'll charge towards you and chomp you down, dealing between 4 to 40 damage in multiples of, 4. And with them having 150 health, it can take up most to 3 shotgun shots just to take one down. But we're not done yet, because sneaking around is the Spectre. It's basically the same as the Pinky, just coded to have a special dark fuzzy transparency effect, making them practically invisible.
When using a CRT monitor and or using software renderers. If you use an LCD monitor or anything that's not software rendering, like OpenGL, it doesn't really work that well. This is of course due to the fact that the game was made with CRT monitors in mind, due to the fact that, CRT monitors were what people used back then. So it's not really going to work that well, and all you're going to get is this weird fuzzy effect, which is why people call it fuzzy. I'll talk about how CRT monitors work some other time, but right now, we're killing demons.
If you press the switch, you'll open up an area where you can find a yellow key card, then find a secret with a soul sphere, then find a secret with a rocket launcher. Boy, what can I say about the rocket launcher? It's a rocket launcher. Well, the rocket impact damage does do between 20 to 160 damage in multiples of... Okay, I don't think I really need to go over what the multiples are anymore. I'm sure you could just tell. And just like any rocket, it has splash damage, functioning the exact same as the explosive barrel, having a radius of 128 units. Take note that this is the last new weapon you'll get in this episode. Same goes for the Pinky and its fuzzy cousin being the last new enemies you'll see. Well, for now at least. Toxin Refinery has some pretty notable landmarks. Well, yes, E1M2 has the red key area and the dark maze, and E1M1 in its entirety because, first level. E1M3 start has a big acid pit, this big computer room, this donut-shaped pathway surrounded by acid, why is there so much damn acid, and lastly, there's this room at the end of the level with the first use of raising stairs. Speaking of the end of the level, we're not going to be taking it. If you found the secret with the rocket launcher and go through this small tunnel, you'll find a switch. Flicking it will raise a bridge in the big acid pit at the map's start. Walk to the wall, interact with it, kill some stragglers, and then proceed to take the exit to the secret level. E1M9, Military Base. Well, it's a secret level. The level is very bland, and it feels like any other tech-based map in the episode. The only memorable part is the caged imps in the middle of the map. I'm not really sure how they got in there. Maybe they got captured by Marines before said Marines got possessed. I don't know. You're essentially just going from one room to another, grabbing keys to unlock the next. Now, that's not saying that there isn't anything to take note of. For instance, this is the first level where you can find one of these. A hole. This is colloquially known as a sound tunnel. It allows enemies in an inaccessible area to still hear sounds made by the player. And with this, you can make teleporter traps. By making a door inside the room full of monsters open up by a W1 trigger, the monsters that have just heard the noise through the sound tunnel will start rushing through the open door into the teleporter, teleporting usually in the same room as the player. With this, map makers can make enemy ambushes in a more or less organic way. That, or you could just use monster closets. Well, I hope you liked that small little mapping lesson, because I have literally nothing to say about this map. Military base is just really dull, especially for a secret level, a type of level they expect to be hard considering it's a level that's specifically tucked away. I'd say it's more difficult than the previous levels, but that's not really saying much. Well, at least its only major upside among other levels is that it can be completely skipped. E1M4, Command Control. I'm not sure why I kind of like this level, considering it's not really that impressive, though I think it's because I just find most of the areas in the map to be pretty memorable to me. For instance, there's the big lobby area at the start of the map where zombie men will be sniping you through the windows. The room to the far left has a row of barrels and a canal of acid that can lead you to a secret with a rocket launcher and a soul sphere. The room to the far right has an accessible higher ground with mega armor. I'll talk about that later. And when you try to grab it, it'll get you ambushed by a monster closet. Then there's the center area with a small dark room filled with imps and a blue keycard that you can get somewhat locked inside in. Then there's another dark... Okay, well, it's not really much of a maze considering you can just go in a straight line to get out, so I guess it's more or less like a dark gopher burrow. Yeah. And lastly, there's this one technically optional computer room where this giant computer tower will collapse and make the room more spacious. And this said tower was totally not in the shape of a swastika in earlier versions. You can trust me on that. Other than that, the level's pretty alright. The only part I can see as annoying is Mr. Never was offensive over there. Mainly if you're like me and always forget to check how many kills are left. And I think the Gopher Lair can be difficult due to the tight halls, but if you don't act like an idiot and run in like one, you'll be fine. E1M5, Phobos Lab. Now this is where Doom's lesser seen horror elements start to come to play. This map is dark, dreary, and dripping with unnerving atmosphere. And with the music track Suspense playing in the background, the horror atmosphere of this level is perfectly executed. The atmosphere doesn't really hold up nowadays, but whatever. With the yellow keycard in hand, you'll find yourself in a donut-shaped room. A good indicator that you're playing a level made by John Romero. Do be wary of this donut though, because closets. Inspectors. Before walking into the 50th pit of acid you've seen today, why not use this wall over here and grab a radiation suit? The rad suit simply makes you immune to most damaging floors for 1 whole minute. Note that if you grab another suit while already having one in use, the timers won't stack. It'll just reset back to 60 seconds. Hit the switch, run back up, and then you are smooth sailing. Until the dark room. No, the other one. This room is way too dark, especially if you're like me and play old-ass games on an old-ass monitor. So find this gap near the entrance and get yourself the light amplification visor. It'll simply make the entire level full bright for 2 whole minutes. And with it, you can get yourself out of here scot-free. Other than the final dark room, this level is perfection to me. It practically captures most of what Doom is. A dash of horror for the soup full of bloody action. E1M6, Central Processing, and I thought it couldn't get any better! If E1M5 showed Doom's horror elements, then E1M6 shows Doom's action in full force. And that's of course due to the enemy count, having a total of 177 enemies. And all this action starts in the red key room, where you'll get ambushed by multiple monster closets filled with imps and specters. When you go to the room with the red door, take a nice dip. Don't worry, there's a rad suit in the right corner, although on the left side you can find mega armor. or blue armor if you're uncivilized. When picked up, it'll give you 200 points of armor, while also giving you a 50% damage reduction, making it so you only take half the damage from attacks, while your armor takes the other half. Do be aware that if you pick up security armor when you still have mega armor left, you'll get rid of your 50% damage reduction for the security armor's 33%. So if you see green armor while still having some blue armor left, it's best to leave it there for later when your mega armor is really low or used up. This doesn't apply to armor bonuses though. Moving forward, you'll find a maze, with the inside being littered with enemies, requiring you to fight your way to find a switch to open up a doorway to the yellow key. So it will be helpful to also find this convenient arrow of armor bonuses to direct you to the computer area map, a device that'll show you the entirety of the level on your auto map, including places that you haven't been to yet, appearing grayed out, with the only exception being areas flagged as not visible by the map maker. Having one or not doesn't really matter because you can assure that there will be groups of monsters waiting around every corner for your arrival so they can erase your head from existence. This is especially true for the final room, where multiple monster closets will open up and imps, pinkies, specters, and shotgunners will start flooding the room. So if you don't have a chain gun or rocket launcher on hand, or you're just not prepared for this at all, you're gonna be losing a lot of health, let alone the possibility of dying. The enemy count alone makes E1M6 the hardest level in episode 1. Of course, again, that's just my opinion, and the amount of enemies in the level itself doesn't really show how hard a level is. That's primarily up to the player's skill. Either way, I can see this giving newer players one hell of a time. E1M7, Computer Station. For a penultimate level, E1M7 is kind of disappointing to me. If E1M5 showed off Doom's horror elements and E1M6 showed Doom's action, E1M7 kind of starts to show Doom's maze-like levels, which is kind of funny for me to say considering E1M3 and 4 had literal mazes in them, as I say 4 in quotation marks. Putting the rat maze aside, the level still gives you some challenge, mostly at the start where you're surrounded by hit scanners. Speaking of hit scanners, near the area containing the yellow keycard, which for some reason is practically tucked away in a corner, take a nice look outside and you'll see the weather forecast is full of shotgunners, which annoyed me for the longest time because I never knew where the secret to get out there was. The way to get outside is by first grabbing the blue key, finding this opened up monster closet, then using the green wall. Yes, I know that sounds easy as hell, but I was stupid then. Hell, I'm still stupid now. Anyways, it's important for me to come out here not just because of the shotgunners, especially the ones hiding behind the giant damn exit building, but because there's a power-up here that's been present since E1M3 and I've been ignoring it since, and that is the partial invisibility. Emphasis on partial. It makes the player transparent and fuzzy, like a specter, hence why the manual also refers to this as the blur sphere. The way it functions is interesting. It makes long-range enemy attacks very inaccurate. Now that's good for hit-scan enemies, since hit-scan attacks basically function by line of sight and will instantly hit a wall or the player depending on the angle of the hit-scan tracer. However, for enemies that use projectiles, you're probably gonna have a bad time. Projectiles will simply go from point A to point B, with point B being straight towards where the player was standing at that very moment of the projectile being thrown. But with the dumbed down accuracy caused by the power-up, it'll just throw projectiles indiscriminately, and due to muscle memory, you're gonna be running into them a lot. Now that's not really an issue when the enemy is far away, but since this is Doom 1, you're practically gonna be facing enemies head-on, usually in a hallway. So essentially, this power-up is quite literally the definition of a double-edged sword, and hence why people have referred to this as the power down. Anyways, I'm not fond of this map. There's like only 3 parts in the level that I can see as dangerous, that being the beginning, again, this lowering pillar with shotgunners that I bet 90s kids probably weren't expecting, and maybe this part at the end when you flip the switch, though you have plenty of cover, so I doubt it'll even be a problem. It's huge, mazy, and if it weren't due to the previous 2 maps, I probably would have said it would have been a fine level, but either way, it's still better than E1M9. E1M8, Phobos Anomaly, the final level of episode 1. That interestingly wraps back around to my opinion on the first map, that it's memorable but pretty straightforward. When you press the button in front of you, the walls will lower to a room full of pinkies and barrels. Okay, well, not for long. The start is essentially a way for you to stock up on supplies for the big fight. and a big fight it is. You're about to face the biggest bads you'll ever see. Your greatest challenge yet. A battle against the Bruiser Brothers themselves. The Barons of Hell! Oh, and also some specters. The Barons of Hell! The Baron of Hell is essentially just a big beefy imp, and beefy they are, having a total of 1,000 health, along with a fireball attack doing between 8 to 64 damage and a melee attack doing 10 to 80. With Ultraviolence adding 10 additional specters into the star-shaped arena, this is gonna be a pretty difficult fight, if you wasted all your rockets beforehand. I do think this level was definitely a pain in the ass for first-time players back in the 90s, who probably played with keyboard only because they were likely dumb. But nowadays, everyone knows what's coming up in this level, and therefore will have a stockpile of rockets up their ass, assuming they're not pistol starting, of course. Although I will say, this map had some presentation, especially with the long hallway leading to the arena lifts, the arena walls lowering when you kill the two barons, revealing the barren lands of Phobos, and even for the exit, where with the flick of a switch, a case of stairs start to raise up before you enter a world you can never imagine. And with the track Sign of Evil playing, the mood of the level sets in perfectly. It really screams that you haven't overcame anything yet. In fact, things are just getting started. And worse. Once you beat the biggest badasses and cleaned out the moon base, you're supposed to win, aren't you? Aren't you? Where's your fat reward and take it home? What the hell is this? It's not supposed to end this way. It stinks like rotten meat, but looks like the lost demo space. Looks like you're stuck on the shores of hell. The only way out is through. Now this is how you start an episode. E2M1, Deimos Anomaly. While still essentially being a straight line to the exit like E1M1, it's slightly longer, has more enemies, and has some optional secrets with goodies that I'm sure you want to get your hands on. Oh, and there's this inverted cross at the start that'll make you take damage if you stand inside of it. Why? I don't know, Satanism or something. Speaking of hidden secrets, if you press this button on the back of this button, a teleporter will lower at the start where you got the blue key card. Hop in and get your arteries ripped out by a bunch of demons, including the Cacodemon. It's practically an imp turned into a giant-ass tomato. It has 400 health and a fireball attack that can do 5 to 40 damage, and a chomp that does 10 to 60. Although its chomp is not a melee attack apparently, it's mostly evident when it chomps you and then proceeds to go away instead of, constantly chomping at you. Not sure why, but whatever. They can also do one other thing that's like unique to it and one other enemy, but hell if I can remember. Oh shit, a plasma gun! The plasma gun, or plasma rifle if you would like to refer to the manual, is basically a chain gun that's projectile based, fires faster, and also not a chain gun. The gun's projectile does between 5 to 40 damage. And that's it. Now what was that one thing that the Cacodemon can do again? Oh god, I can fuck! E2M1 is a great example of how a first level in a vanilla Doom 1 WOD should be. Having enough enemies to have a good time blasting through, and goodies hidden away in places that make it kind of fun and rewarding to hunt down. Even if it didn't have any of this, it still would have been my second favorite level in the entire episode just for the music alone. I sawed the demons. Seriously, take a listen. Now that is a perfect MIDI. This level is a perfect introduction for the shores of hell. Just tens across the board. It's not difficult, but it is not afraid to not hold back either. I can only say what I've already said once before. To me, it's the ideal level 1. E2M2, Containment Area. This warehouse is full of demons and you are the exterminator. The best way to deal with these pests is to make them blow up. But you don't have a rocket launcher now, do you? Well, I hope you have your brass knuckles on speed dial because it's finally time for them to shine with the Berserk. A power-up that not only heals you back up to 100 health, but also multiplies your fist damage by 10, going from 2 to 20 damage to between 20 and 200, meaning you can possibly one-punch pinkies and punch weaker demons so hard that they explode! Yeah! E2M2 is pretty damn big, but each main section of the map is so distinct that it's practically impossible to get lost, like the main storage room, this temple-like section, this gravel room, yeah, sure, let's go with that, and the main exit with the hallway full of crushers. It makes the level feel like a place that's been corrupted by hell's influence. Speaking of the gravel room, there's a small path puzzle with the reward of a yellow key card. And with it, not only can you enter the locked room containing the chain gun, but to also get access to the room that contains a backpack, rocket launcher, and spirit Halloween decorations. The Lost Soul. A very unique enemy, and not just because it's the only other monster in the game that can fly, somehow, but they're also unique in the way that they attack. Rather than using hit scan or a normal projectile, they are the projectile, charging towards its foes at lightning speeds to headbutt their victims like a goat, dealing between 3 to 24 damage. That, and due to them having 100 health, making it so it'll take 2 to 3 shotgun shots just to take one down, makes them kind of annoying. Well, to most people, that is. I've never really had a problem with them, mainly in a vanilla sense, and especially in Doom 1. Mainly because I could just shoot them once while they're charging forward, and they'll proceed to slowly float backwards, giving them a 0.05% chance of survival. Plus, I already have to shoot pinkies like 3 to 4 times with the shotgun, so Lost Soul ain't really much more of a hassle to me. Although they could have been worse, because in the press release beta, not only did they had a kind of basic sprite, but they also had a, in quotation marks, psychic hit scan attack that was completely unavoidable. So you should honestly be kind of grateful that you have these little bastards instead. To wrap things up, E2M2 is my favorite level in this episode. To me, it's quite literally just E2M1 but expanded, or E1M7 but better. It's also one of those maps that I like to give myself a restriction on. Of course, that restriction is just going full on Mike Tyson. But even without doing that, the level is still fun to play through. We're practically on a winning streak with these maps. I wonder what's next. Oh no. E2M3 Refinery. Okay, look, I don't think the map is god-awful or anything. It's just really boring and confusing to me. Not only because it's going through what E1M7 had to experience, but it's also the first level where Doom's shareware-itis starts to well up. If you don't know what I'm talking about, shareware was basically what demos for PC games were called back then. And usually they gave you a whole episode or basically 1/3 of a game for free. And due to that, the game developers will usually put loads of the good stuff in the shareware episode to entice players. It's not just with Doom. Many other games suffer from this as well. Unlike other levels that try to somewhat betray what the level title says, like how E1M3 looks like a toxin refinery or the previous level has the start that looks like a containment area, E2M3 just looks like someone dicked around with a level editor. Like, seriously, what's the Star Tan room supposed to represent? What's the point of these raising and lowering flesh platforms that are only seen in this singular room? And why are there cacos locked up in the cage like it's a military base all over again? But hey, unlike E2M3, John at least somewhat tried with E1M9, Sandy! I'm 100% sure that Tom Hall was working on this level and only got the bare basics of the start area done before getting forced to resign. And when Sandy Peterson took over, he just did whatever the hell to the map. Other than the fact that the Baron of Hell returns in this level and proceeds to be a normal occurring enemy moving forward, and that the level uses the intermission music, which only really works in the intermissions between maps, I don't really have much to say about this level. Other than it's just bad. E2M4 Demos Lab, and thank God we're back to a level that actually looks like what it claims itself to be. But despite that, I feel like I don't really have much to say about this level, even though I do. It isn't really that difficult other than 2 specific areas, with one of them being a secret filled with pinkies and specters and is in the dark, which definitely got me the first time. It's obvious that Demos Lab is trying to go for a creepy vibe, with it having dim or even dark rooms, or even in some cases, having atmospheric lighting. And if it wasn't for the music track, They're Going to Get You, I likely wouldn't have fully felt what the level is trying to go for, and more or less get annoyed by how dark the map would get. In general, E2M4 feels like a place that you're just not welcomed in, with monsters waiting around the corner or behind doors, lab hallways leading into more of Hell's influence, a yellow keycard that's definitely not sitting on a crusher trap, and gargoyles on the walls. It just has everything that screams, I don't like you. Despite what I say about the difficulty, the level itself can be tough if you don't have much supplies, and or didn't bother to find any of the secrets. But other than that, this map is kind of what I expect from a level 4. Plus there's a berserk pack in this level, so you can just mostly punch everything to death. In the end, it's just another decent level that doesn't have anything bad with it, other than the possibility of getting softlocked here by the raising floor. But ignoring that, E2M4 is good, I just don't really find it memorable, and I don't really have much else to say about it either. E2M5 Command Center. Well, it looks like E1M7 came back with a vengeance, this time even feeling more like a maze. Hell, it even has the same music too. But at least with E1M7, it had more notable areas that you can take a look at and be like, oh right, I've been here before! 70% of Command Center is mainly just hallways, and while yes, the hallways could either be circular, jaggy, have an entirely different wall texture, or even have an acid floor, just for a pinch of challenge, it's still just a bunch of hallways through and through. The only few notable landmarks I can think of is the remaining 33% of the level that isn't hallways, this wall engravement of an enemy that we will have to face some other day. Ow! This secret where you can get the plasma gun, this cage near the plasma gun secret with a single Baron in it, I'm not even gonna fucking ask why, and this one room. When it comes to some of the encounters, the map is fine, but with everything else, it's just eh. I feel it's the most with the secrets, where some of them are not really well hidden, and there are 10 of them in total. Now, luckily, those encounters are actually pretty good, like the outside area with the Barons and Cacos, the secret area with the plasma gun, again, and maybe even the area at the exit with the Cacos and the small brigade of Pinkies that'll march out of a closet if you even dare try to pick up that mega armor.
Speaking of the exit, again, we're not going to be taking it. Again. So do you remember that one room?
Yeah, that one. The only reason why it's notable is because the teleporter to the secret exit is here. Don't worry, it's easy to find, but certainly not as fancy as the first one. Mind the boneheads and get on out of here. E2M9, Fortress of... Whoa, okay, that's one way to start a map. Get me the hell out of here! Well, I don't want to waste any ammo, so I guess it's time to cook up some infighting. If thou isn't aware, infighting is the mechanic that makes it so if one enemy hits another enemy, the level will turn to a Waffle House. Although if an enemy like, I don't know, let's say an imp, hits another imp with a fireball, this won't make them hurt each other since they're in the same splash group, let alone the same enemy. Although if an enemy attacks another with a hit scan or a melee attack, it'll cause infighting no matter what, even if it's the same monster. Which is another reason why I find Lost Souls not that annoying, because they're gonna be way too busy killing each other to have time to kill me. Well, that's the last bastard in the room. I did pick up a computer area map during that mess, so where do I go now? What? That was a fucking test level. E2M6, Halls of the Damned. Another level 6 that hits it straight out of the ballpark. Hell yeah. And the level just hands you a berserk pack at the very start? Looks like Sandy is starting to try to redeem himself. This is the third level so far that's made by Sandy Pearson, all by himself, and isn't just a rework of an early draft or an unfinished level by Tom Hall. And while not all of his singles are heavy hitters,
I would be lying if I said that Pearson's levels didn't contain any type of creativity within them. Even with E2M9's Fortress of Mystery, or Pause of Mystery, or whatever it's called, the level practically wants you to have the monsters in fight. Now, the idea of a monster fighting another monster isn't really as interesting nowadays, but Doom was probably one of the first games to have a mechanic like that, and Peterson probably saw the mechanic and thought, that's cool as hell. I mean, yeah, of course it's cool as hell. It's two monsters fighting each other while you're just watching on the sidelines. It's like a WWE wrestling match or something. It doesn't change the fact the level still sucks, but whatever, I digress. We have to get back on track anyways.
One of the key locations of the map is the big, dark, possibly moist wooden section. That to me makes Doom's horror elements sink in deep. Again, that can be all thanks to the track Waltz of the Demons. It's kinda like the maze in E1M2, except for the fact that it's way darker, has dimmer lights that flicker even faster, is a bit more cramped, and the enemies here are actually a threat instead of just hiding in a corner waiting for the inevitable to happen. This is especially true for the Spectre, who just blends into the darkness, allowing them to finally stand in the limelight. Or not, because, you know, darkness. When you're done having a staring contest with the Void and win a red skull key, you'll find yourself in a 4-way hallway. Although there are 4 rooms to enter, you only really need to enter 2 of them if you're not going for 100% kills. One of them contains the yellow skull key, and the other being the exit. Wait, wasn't there an exit door at the beginning? Hell if I can remember. Sweet freedom, here I go, damn you to help! After you're done with that, it's time for you to get out of here. But do watch out, because there are Pinkies and Barons now roaming the halls. That or they're assimilating to one another. Despite its small size and slightly tight hallways, E2M6 still packs a lot of enjoyable action, and honestly feels like a better version of E2M5, which is kind of funny to say considering it was literally just the previous level. Well, was the previous level. E2M7, spawning vats. Wait, hold on a second. Okay, I think I might have said that E1M7 came back with a vengeance a bit too early because holy shit! This level is ridiculously big. Although, thankfully that's only one half of the issues I have with E2M7. Each room is designed uniquely from one another, making it kind of impossible to get lost in the level, no matter its size. At the beginning, after dealing with this very rude Pinky ambush, you'll have 2 paths to take. Left or right, go left. Not just because this is the path to get yourself the blue key card, but more importantly to get yourself Berserk and the last new power-up you'll find in Doom 1. Invulnerability. As the name implies, it makes you invincible, but only for 30 seconds. Along with it, it'll turn all colors in your vision into an inverse monochrome. Well, most things at least. With the invulnerability and Berserk in hand, you can walk up to any monster and just start pummeling them, including the Barons in the map, mostly due to them standing around the invulns like idiots. It's to the point where I say that it's kind of impossible to die unless you do it purposely or you're just a complete freaking idiot. Take a guess on what I am. Well, I guess it's a good time to mention what happens when you die and are too stupid to have a quick save. You'll restart the entire map with only having 100 health, 50 bullets, and wielding a pistol, kind of like the start of the episode. This is colloquially known as pistol starting, and people will do this intentionally to give themselves more of a challenge. I have no issues with pistol starting, hell, I have to do it all the time when testing levels I'm working on, but it's just not my style of play. Anywho, the encounters in the level are pretty good, like with the blue and yellow key areas, and this one place with a gang of imps. Which, word from the unwise, do not camp the door of the Berserk, you're going to regret that later. The only other issue I have with this level is with the rooms that don't really lead to anywhere and practically only exist to have monsters within them. Since my focus is on the task at hand, which is beating the level, I'll forget to check these rooms. And since I'm a maniac that usually tries to go for 100% kills, I'll look at the kill count in my auto map and proceed to groan. This likely wouldn't be an issue if I played with DSDA Doom and had the extended HUD on, but I felt like playing with Crispy Doom today, damn it! This level is great. The minor issues I have with it are literally just a me thing, let alone the fact that it's not really much of an issue. So if we just shoved those aside, it's practically up there with the first 2 levels of the episode, and is the best map 7 so far. Now I say it's best that we don't waste any more time and finish this episode. E2M8, Tower of Babel. Well, it's definitely a last level in a Doom episode, although it's not as spectacular as Phobos Anomaly. Tower of Babel is essentially just 5 rooms, one being the start room and the other 4 being essentially just supply caches. The outside is huge, has marble pillars, and is crammed with lost souls. Oh, and this guy's here, the Cyber Demon. Quite literally your biggest foe yet. The Cyber Demon's health is 4 times that of a Baron, and for its attack, it shoots a volley of 3 rockets. And unlike the shotgunner, who basically has a nerfed down version of the player's shotgun, the Cyber Demon's rockets are the exact same as yours. I find Tower of Gravel to be as easy as Phobos Anomaly, if not a tad bit easier. Some people might find Tower Seattle kind of tedious due to the 20 lost souls that appear on the hard difficulties. But this just brings up my third reason on why I don't find Lost Souls that annoying. In earlier versions of Doom, the Lost Soul was kind of annoying, especially in Tower of Bagel where you had to kill all of them before getting to the main course, just so you can get 100% kills. But ever since version 1.666, I get it, they aren't considered part of the kill count anymore, likely due to a certain monster that we aren't going to be going over now. Either way, the Lost Soul is likely going to be way too busy being across the map, stuck inside one of the supply rooms, or just fighting each other to even help out the Cyber Demon. Oh, but what if one of them charges into you and makes your rocket explode in front of your face? Unless you're pistol starting, you shouldn't even be using the rocket launcher anyways, because the Cyber Demon is immune to splash damage. Well, actually, maybe there is a reason to use the rocket launcher, so you can make the fight longer, because dear God, Tower of Snapple is short as hell. Of course, that's likely due to the map's size and how it ends after you kill Mr. Augmentations over there, and with the addition of the level being easy as hell, yeah, I don't like Tower of Flannel, which kinda sucks too, because it plays one of my favorite tracks in the entire game. Nobody told me about id. Also, while we're talking about this track, I like to mention one of my favorite remixes of it, the one by DeXiaZ Fantom, probably said that wrong. I might as well mention the Sign of Evil ambient remix by Richard Craig because it's also really good. Both are on YouTube. I do highly recommend that you look them up later. To finish this episode up, Tower of Beyblade is somewhat what I expect from a boss level in a Doom 1 episode. It's obviously memorable, but that's only due to the fact that it's a boss level. If it had more presentation like E1M8, I feel like it could have been passable, but as it is, it's nothing but a crumbling tower. You've done it! The hideous Cyber Demon Lord that ruled the Lost Deimos moonbase has been slain, and you are triumphant! But where are you? You clamber to the edge of the moon and look down to see the awful truth. Deimos floats above hell itself! You've never heard of anyone escaping from hell, but you'll make the bastards sorry they ever heard of you. Quickly, you rappel down to the surface of hell. E3M1, Hell's Keep. Hell's Keep is just not good, especially for first level standards. The level is incredibly short and doesn't really give much of a challenge, other than having to deal with 2 cacodemons at the start. With a pistol, the level is very bland, especially at the start where it's very wide open, but there's barely any enemies to compensate for it. Now, you could play coy and chalk it up to hardware limitations at the time, but 1, bullshit, and 2, you seriously couldn't add more than 3 imps? Then there's this entire section that's just one entire thin hallway, so thin that the pinkies inside can only move forward and backwards. This is just a bad start for Inferno, though it's still not as bad as some other levels. It's just underwhelming. But hey, at least you can get a rocket launcher in the secret at the end of the map, which is absolutely nothing for pistol starters. Good thing I'm not one of them. E3M2, Slough of Despair. Would it be weird for me to say that this is one of my favorite maps? This is another level that Sandy Peterson definitely put a lot of creativity into because, come on, it's in the shape of a hand. The main objective is to basically go from the wrist to the pinky finger so you can get the blue skull key, then to the ring finger to exit the level. It's as simple as that. However, with the somewhat cramped design and its enemies prowling about, it's likely best to find secrets, especially if you're pistol starting. There's also enemies in the other 3 fingers as well, which could be annoying for some people who are going for 100% kills, but for me, I'm gonna go in there for supplies anyways, so it's not really that much of a hindrance for me. Well, except the middle finger. It's way too cramped, and it's filled with lost souls and pinkies, which almost got me killed. Even though it was completely my fault because I completely forgot I grabbed Berserk, and then I proceeded to try to kill them with rockets. I guess you could say that I almost fucked myself over there. I'm starting to see why I don't have friends. The map is really good, but there's still a lot of faults within it that can make other people look back at it with a sour taste in their mouth. But sour taste or not, there's still more interesting crap here than the first map of this godforsaken episode. E3M3 Pandemonium. Other than the fact that the map starts you off getting cornered by a pinky, this is one of the few levels in Inferno that's kind of memorable to me. Probably because more than half of the levels in this episode aren't really that good. Like, sure, Hell's Keep is memorable, but not in the good way. Pandemonium is a whole lot like E2M7, just a bit more compact, to the point that my opinions on E2M7 kinda carry over. But unlike E2M7, it has one big trick up its sleeve, and that being the first level to introduce the BFG 9000. The name is short for Bioforce Gun, but in reality it's short for Big Fucking Gun. And big and fucking is correct. Because with just 40 cells, it shoots out a big projectile that'll fucking obliterate anything that comes into contact with, by doing between 100 to 800 damage. But that's not all. No. Because on its third explosion frame, it'll shoot out 40 hit scan tracers, dealing between 49 to 87 damage. Not in multiples or anything, it's kind of difficult to explain. Although originally, it was a bit different. And it's kind of crazy how it went from its press release version to this. Because in the press release beta, it simply shat out 80 projectiles, 40 that are green and 40 that are red, that both do between 4 to 32 damage. And with it, it lagged the shit out of computers to high hell back in the day, as well as just looking like Saint Nick was in the room. This version was obviously far worse, and thankfully they changed it to this in the final game. Too bad I was introduced in this level. The map is not wide enough, nor does it have enough monsters in big enough groups to warrant me using it. The only place where you can feasibly use it is with the wooden area at the beginning, if you haven't already went in and slaughtered everything. That and the maze-like level design are my only gripes with the map. Well, other than the enemies and secrets, because that really starts becoming a problem and annoying in this level. Because it took me like 10 minutes for me to say screw it and look up the map secrets to find a specific secret just to kill the last enemies. It was right next to the exit. Look, my friend, if you ever plan on making a Doom map, do me a solid and don't put enemies in a secret. Unless if it's a secret that's relatively easy to find or has lost souls or any custom enemy that doesn't affect the kill count, then please just don't. Or do, because, you know, I'm not really the boss of you. Whatever, let's just get a move on. E3M4 House of Pain. House of Pain is a fine map. It's decently hard and there's nothing really bad with it. It's just one of those levels that I won't really remember until I see it again, and when I'm done with it, I'll go back to not knowing what the hell House of Pain is. Which is kind of weird because I can always remember the Crusher room with the invulnerability inside one of the Crusher pits, this big hallway area with the blood pool and hanging bodies, and this weird key area. But otherwise, the level doesn't really intrigue me. The only downside I can give to this map is that the level design is weird. Mostly with this one room near the end with all the switches that open up to rooms containing skull keys. But really that's more or less just a Sandy Peterson thing. It also has the enemies in a secret problem that I had with the previous level, but this time it wasn't really much of an issue. Especially since I got a shit ton of supplies that I can carry over to the next level. Also, I don't know how I missed this door, I am as confused as you are. Overall, the level is just fine, but there isn't really much I can say. Unlike the next map. E3M5 Unholy Cathedral. This, in my humble opinion, is the worst level Doom 1 has to offer. Okay, fine, second worst. Third worst. In a general sense, it's not the worst out there, but God, whenever I get to this map, I just let out a huge groan. Now, of course, the main reason is due to the map's gimmick. There are 4 teleporters that will warp you into the center courtyard of the map, with each opening up one of these brick structures. Sounds simple, but in execution it can be kind of confusing, especially for first-time players. The main problem I have with it is that 3 of the teleporters in the courtyard are 3 of the same teleporters that send you into the courtyard, making it so you're technically stuck in a loop until you take the right one. For the sakes of protecting your sanity, my friend, just go through this teleporter near this room that has a secret that looks remarkably like the start room in E209. Because of course these two shit heaps have the same pieces of dog shit in them. But you want to know the funny thing? Unless you're getting 100% kills or secrets, you only need to teleport out here once. Honestly, the entire level is a cakewalk. All you gotta do is open this door, grab the blue skull key, and then just leave the level. Assuming that you're not getting 100% kills. And getting 100% kills in this level is cumbersome. Especially when you realize that practically all the secrets have enemies in them! Not counting the 4 brick structures, 4 of the 6 secrets contain monsters. So if you already opened up a wiki page to see which teleporters go to where, I suggest you keep it open. Speaking of secrets, I would like to bring up this optional room at the end of the level. I say optional because despite it being hidden, it's not marked as a secret. Anyway, once you enter, you'll get locked inside, and as soon as you make one single noise, likely due to this imp, monsters will start flooding in just like that one area in the military base. When you're done dealing with the pests, you can get yourself a BFG, which is essentially just a big middle finger because you likely just killed everything in the map. Sure, you could grab the BFG first and start using it on the horde itself, but they move in so slowly and or teleport in so infrequently that's not really even worth using. Overall, I just hate going through this level, but for some reason I just can't hate it outright. Some of the monster encounters are pretty cool, and I think the level design looks pretty nice. I don't really know. I guess some of Sandy's creative charm is still shining through enough from making me fully hate it. Or maybe I'm just weird. E3M6, Mount Erebus. Okay, this is the third level 6 that's really damn good. Guess they were really trying to lean into the game's demonic themes, huh? Mount Erebus is the first and only level in Doom 1 that strays away from the norm of most Doom maps, where instead of the level mostly taking place in some kind of base, building, temple, or generally being indoors, E3M6 mostly takes place outside, with smaller buildings that the player can enter in. The level in its entirety is simply a small island surrounded by a lake of lava that can do 20 damage to you every 32 ticks. Why bring up how much damage the lava does specifically? Well, remember when I was going over the rad suit and mentioned that it can protect you from most damaging floors? Here's the limit on most. The damaging floor type that the lava uses in this level has a good 2.3% chance that it'll just ignore your rad suit and make you take 20 damage no matter what. If you do somehow run out of rad suits, there is a technique you can do to avoid most damage from damaging floors called nukage rhythm, but I think I'll talk about that some other day. The map has a lot of enemies, especially when you go through this teleporter in this building. The building that locks you inside with the only way out being that teleporter. That's hidden behind a wall. Anyway, after you go through it, you'll get ambushed by multiple cacos and dozens of lost souls. Too bad they're gonna be nothing more but a good demonstration for the true power of the BFG 9000, baby! Okay, that was not good enough. Those guys are like way too high. Let's try these guys instead. Groovy. Speaking of that teleporter, if you go in, don't fall down, and walk carefully, yeah, that's a secret exit. But I'm not done talking about this level yet, so just wait a second. If I had to give one complaint about the level, it would have to be the normal exit. It's located here near the Blue Skull Key building, which can only be accessed through here, in the burning lava. And once you go in, it'll open a monster closet full of caco demons outside. That's kind of dumb. That's all I can say about Mount Erebus. It's just another level 6 that hits it straight out of the ballpark. But I feel like I could talk about other things before we leave. But just what can I talk about? Oh, right, there's this fancy texture that everyone keeps talking about called Fire Blue. I think it's time for us to get the hell out of here. E3M9 Warrens. You've gotta be kidding me. Oh look, it's E3M1 again. Real funny, assholes. So what, are you guys just gonna pull the rug under me and make me fight a cyber demon at the end of the level or something? Oh my fucking god! Jokes aside, Warren's is the best secret level in the entirety of Doom 1, and it's not even close. Unlike Military Base and the Fortress of Mystery, where Military Base was just a generic tech-based map like any other in Episode 1, and Fortress of Mystery is Fortress of Mystery, Warren's is the only secret map that has some kind of gimmick. And of course, that gimmick is just pulling the rug under you, and that rug is E3M1. Which, I'm not sure if it was a good or bad choice to pick that level specifically. The only reason why I think it was a bad choice is because I personally think it would have been way cooler if it was a map that surely would have been way more iconic, like E1M1. Wait, no, actually, I think it would have been way cooler if it was E1M8. Like, imagine, you're a kid in 1993 and you finally got into the secret level for the first time, and the first thing you saw was this brick wall and a single button. Your little child brain would remember a level starting like this, but not remembering which one, since you have gone pretty far into this game. Until you hit the button to lower the walls, to reveal a room full of barrels and pinkies, and instantly it clicks. This is Phobos Anomaly. After that revelation, you continue forward and take down the Bruiser Brothers once more. And since you have a small, stupid baby brain, you'll think the end of the map will be the same. But instead, you see something similar to Mount Erebus, with dozens of enemies residing on islands surrounded by a lake of lava, the air being polluted with flocks of cacos and lost souls, and possibly even a cyber demon trudging through the lava. Now that would have been cool as hell. Now, the main reason for E3M1 being a good choice is that it just makes the most sense. The two maps are in the same episode, plus it makes no sense for an area from Phobos to randomly appear in Hell. But I don't care, it would have been rad as fuck. Unlike Hell's Keep, Warren's is actually kind of enjoyable. Even with continuous play, I still had a pretty decent time. I mean, yeah, having a BFG kind of ruins the Cyber Demon fight, but with the invulnerability in the arena, it makes the entire fight a complete joke no matter what. Anyway, the ending of the map is pretty good too. It teleports you behind these cacos you have to squeeze your way past, and then deal with the hordes of shotgunners that come out of the alcoves. Kill the scum, get the red skull key, ignore this missing texture, and get on out of here. While the map is not really much of a challenge, especially for non-pistol starters, I still see it as the best secret level that Doom 1 has to offer. Okay, fine, fourth worst. E3M7, Limbo. You know, Limbo is a pretty good name for this level, because it sure does feel like a bloody void. First of all, the level is big, the rooms are big, and the enemy count is small as hell. Seriously, why are the rooms so huge and yet so desolate? Limbo on the hard difficulties only has 47 enemies. If we compare that to the other penultimate levels, E2M7 has 95 enemies, and E1M7 has 150. This is barely a penultimate level. Second, there is so much blood everywhere that will make you take 5 to 10 damage, making it practically the only thing to worry about throughout the entire level. Oh, but don't worry too much, because the level does have 10 radiation suits that you can use when needed. 9 of them can only be found in this blood maze. My third problem, Limbo brings back E3M5's teleporter bullshit. But instead of the teleporter sending you into some central area, it just sends you to wherever the hell. The level design in general is just bad as well. There's no detail in any of the rooms, meaning you're likely going to get lost trying to figure out where the hell to go. The first main goal is to get the red skull key. Simple enough. Just go through the blood maze, turn left, keep going forward, don't take any teleporters, and you'll get the red skull key. With the red skull in hand, you can finally have access to these 6 marble pillars. And here's my fourth problem. When you see this marble pillar for the first time, you'll see a marble pillar and nothing else. And you can't really get a good look at its backside without getting into the blood. Sure, you'll eventually see this one, but since it's on a lone platform, you'll likely assume that's just a secret. Which it is. 4 of these pillars are also in somewhat hidden places. Hell, one of them is literally in a corner. And since all the doors are facing one way, usually towards walls, likely due to them all just being a copy-paste job, newer players will likely not know what to do next and get completely stuck. This map is just big, confusing, and a waste of a penultimate level, especially since this is the final episode. If it at least had the same amount of enemies as E2M7, it could have been passable, but it isn't. But in the end, I think it's best that we just leave this map behind and finally finish what we started. E3M8, Dis. Your final challenge, with one last obstacle in your way. You've cleared out the moon base and faced the Bruiser Brothers head on. Took back the lost demo space from the hideous cyber demon lord. And you even marched through hell itself. And now you've made it, with only one thing blocking your way home. One monster that dares to stop your march to freedom. The one, the only, Spider Master! Well, that was pathetic. Dis is simply another boss arena that this time only has 4 monsters within it. 2 Cacos, a Baron, and a big-ass spider, with only 4 legs. So I guess it's more or less like a big, hideous chihuahua. The Spider Demon, more well known as the Spider Mastermind, is an enemy that I find both a threat and pathetic. Threatening in the fact that the Mastermind has 3,000 health and its only attack is a super chain gun. Why is it super? Well, it's due to the fact that it's literally just the shotgunner's attack, but really fast. Other than those 2 points, the Spider Demon kinda sucks. Its health is 1,000 less than the Cyber Demon, and since its attack is hit scan, it's going to infight with literally everything, including itself. Just like a big hideous chihuahua. If you're doing a pistol start, this level will hand you your ass on a silver platter. Although, if you're like me, a wuss, you can easily use the BFG twice in its face to make all 40 BFG tracers hit the Spider Demon, practically killing it instantly, though do mind hit scan. The only good thing that I can say that this has is that it uses the track facing the spider, which when listening to it, it's obvious that's heavily based on Sergeant D and the Sod by Stormtroopers of Death. In fact, 9 of the game's 23 music tracks have some kind of inspirational connection to a real song, which makes sense. It likely got their inspiration from whatever they were listening to on the radio. It doesn't end with the in-game music either. A bunch of unused tracks also have some kind of inspiration, or just straight up MIDI renditions of actual music, with all of them having the file name of un2numbers.mid. Bobby Princeton noted that the file names stand for use not, which simply means don't use, because they would likely get the team in legal trouble. They then practically proceed to use them anyways. I'm getting completely sidetracked. The level's short, easy, and, well, it's basically just any other boss level. And overall, a disappointing end to a subpar episode. The loathsome spider demon that masterminded the invasion of the moon base and caused so much death has had its ass kicked for all time. A hidden doorway opens, and you enter. You've proven too tough for hell to contain. And now, hell at last plays fair. For you emerge from the door to see the green fields of Earth. Home at last. You wonder what's been happening on Earth while you were battling evil unleashed. It's good that no hellspawn could have come through that door with you.
Well, that's fucking horrifying. And that was Doom. The myth, the legend, the old-ass game you get on Steam for like $10. Despite the fact that Episode 3 left quite a sour note at the end, and the game's flaws in general, I still find the game to be very enjoyable even after all these years.
Although we're not done with Doom 1 just yet, because there is one last episode to go over. But I'm not really sure if I want to go over it right now, since it did come out months after Doom 2. But, you know, I also really want to get rid of this bad taste that Inferno put in my mouth.
So, what do you think, person that just randomly appeared on my house? Okay, I just realized you don't have a mouth. Okay, if you want me to go over it, toss me that can. Where the fuck did you get a skull?
Ultimate Doom, a version of Doom 1 that was released on April 30th of 1995, both as a physical release and a free update to anyone who owned Doom version 1.9. Ultimate Doom adds in a whole new episode, Thy Flesh Consumed, an episode full of pain, suffering, and level names that reference passages from the King James Bible, including the episode name itself, that being Proverbs 5:11. And thou mourn to the last, when thy flesh and thy body are consumed. And that's it. Ultimate Doom adds nothing else, so no new enemies, weapons, textures, I think, and no new music. But since I do love variety, I'm going to be using the Ultimate MIDI Pack, a community project led by Continuum.mid that adds new music to all of the levels in Doom's 4 episodes. Not just because I can, but also I felt like showing off a small sliver of creativity that came from the Doom community.
I'm also going to be using the Doom Minor Sprite Fixing Project by Revenant 100. I thought I should mention that because I didn't use them for the previous episodes, so yeah. Let's just get started now, shall we? But first...
Proverbs 15:24. The way of life is above to the wise, that he may depart from hell beneath. E4M1, Hell Beneath. This level only has 9 health bonuses. Now that we got that out of the way, Hell Beneath is hard. And no, I don't mean impossible hard, I mean hard, but still totally doable. You're just likely gonna have a bad experience. This is the first level that we're seeing right now that's made by American McGee, a man who's well known for American McGee's Alice, a game I would absolutely love to play, but you know, EA's a fucking bitch. Not only does Hell Beneath only have 9 health bonuses, but it also has 1 security armor and 12 armor bonuses. Not like it'll really matter in the end. There are 2 points of interest in this map, that being the 2 rooms with the red and blue skull key. As you go into the room with the red skull key, or just look through this fence, a bunch of enemies behind fake mid-texture walls that they can shoot through will wake up and start teleporting outside, or behind you, then outside. If all the enemies are done teleporting, it's best to deal with the monsters through this fence. This fence is your best friend. When you're done with all of that, the only thing left to do is to get the blue skull key. That, once grabbed, will start teleporting specters outside. Go back to the fence, kill them all, and you can leave. But you would miss out on this torch secret that will reveal a 9-inch nails logo. Also, don't step on the logo. If you do, walls will rise and trap you in a small confined space with barons teleporting in to slap you to death! Instead, go back to your safety fence, make some noise, and then unload all of your rockets that you hopefully got from the secret at the start of the map into the barons. Hell Beneath is kind of a pain in the ass. The entire map is just trial and error. If you get hit even once, just kiss that health goodbye. The map also gives you barely enough ammo to kill everything, meaning that you're going to have to resort to punching most of the monsters or making every monster infight with one another, which, if you couldn't have guessed, is the best option, especially with the specters and barons of hell at the end. It'll save you a ton of ammo. And health if you don't play like a dumbass. All of this combined makes Hell Beneath a level that first-time players are going to dread, and that feeling hits even harder with the track Desolation by project lead Continuum.mid. To me, the track fits Hell Beneath way better than Sign of Evil. It gives the map more of a sinister vibe, the feeling of desperation as you're low on health and supplies, fearing that this is a challenge you'll never overcome. Despite the challenge, the punishment of dying isn't really that bad. Since this is the first map, you're going to be pistol starting no matter what, so really the only punishment for dying is just restarting. In the end, the map is good overall, you're just going to dread Hell Beneath for the first time, but soon you'll start feeling mundane to it. Psalm 139:22. I hate them with perfect hatred. I account them mine enemies. E4M2, perfect hatred. Oh, hey John, haven't seen you since E1M7. Where the hell have you been? John Romero stated that he made perfect hatred in 6 hours, which I find bogus. The map is very intricately designed, and Doom level editors back then didn't have any fancy 3D preview option, meaning that John had to load up the map over and over again just to see if there was any errors. So I'm sorry, but there is no way in hell he did this in 6 hours. He most likely did in 7. Perfect Hatred's start is kind of a pain, especially when you're me and start with 30 health. I could soak into lava to respawn with 100 health, but besides the medkits that are here at the start, I'd much rather start a map with low health than having to start one pistoling cacodemons again. After dealing with all the enemies at the start, and grabbing this soul sphere like me, you'll notice a platform full of pinkies. Ignore them. Instead, focus on one of the barons through this window. Kill one and proceed to raise this bridge so you can get your hands on the yellow skull key. But watch out. Afterwards, you have to go to the other side of the map that has rock caverns that's residing specters and cacodemons. On your way there, also watch out. Grab the blue skull key and it's finally time to deal with those pinkies on the ledge. John, this is the 2nd level. Despite its existence, the cyber demon isn't really much of an issue. And frankly, it can be pretty helpful by blowing up the pinkies and or the cacodemons waiting in the exit room. Just do be cautious. If you head back down the steps, you'll find a new teleporter that will allow you to telefrag the cyber demon, and even get a BFG out of it. Now, as soon as you leave the cyber's pen, jump into the lava and rush into this new alcove, and there, you can leave through the secret exit. Despite John, supposedly, finishing the map in 6 hours, and also the dozens of barons and cacos, the map is very enjoyable to me. The map keeps you on the move by making you leap across platforms and constantly dodging projectiles due to the lack of cover and having very small wiggle room, overall giving the level a very frantic feeling. And this feeling is amplified even more with the track A Compact Hell by composer Diego Segovia, also known just as Sego. Also, if you're not a fan of the small platforms, there is a secret switch here that will raise a big platform that will connect the 4 smaller ones together. Overall, Perfect Hatred is a correct title. The map feels like it hates you, but the map is perfect overall. This is one of my favorite maps in episode 4, feeling like a pseudo prototype to what John's maps will be like in the future. I can't wait to get to Sigil 1 and 2. E4M9, Fear. Fear is notable for being the only map in the episode to not have a name referencing a passage in the King James Bible. So it's the worst map so far. Jokes aside, Fear is actually notable, to me at least, for being a tech-based map. In episode 4. Although, to me, it feels like a deathmatch-only map that was being made for Doom 2, but then was later converted into a Doom 1 single-player map. And my only evidence is that the map uses textures that are seen in both games, though both games do share a lot of textures, so I guess it's more or less just a coinkydink. Did I really just say that? This is also the first map that we're seeing that's made by Tim Willits. I'm not gonna go over the reasons why right now, but just so you know, I really fucking hate this guy. The map is very easy, even with its enemy count. All you gotta do is hit one of these switches, grab the yellow skull key, and just run to the exit. If you do decide to get 100% kills, the map can be decent. And just like how any good music can improve the quality of anything, even if it's just by a bit, the track Darkness Continues by My Mechatire, who also goes by Blue, really gives Fear an identity that's more than just a tech-based map. This is basically what I wish E1M9 was, being tough and difficult, which is exactly what I expect from a secret level. But considering that this is episode 4 and we already went through 2 of the hardest maps in the episode and the way to exit the map is easy as all hell, yeah, Fear doesn't really look so good now, does it? So essentially, in isolation, Fear is decent, but combined with the rest of Thy Flesh Consumed, it's kinda just bland. Just like any other map made by Tim Willits. Matthew 13:49. So shall it be at the end of the world. The angel shall come forth and sever the wicked from among the just. E4M3, sever the wicked. Wicked is correct, because this level has a hot start. You start outside and have to deal with imps, shotgunners, pinkies, and lost souls. Of course, the best course of action is to just kill them all. When you're done, you must enter down these stairs and hunt down the red skull key, where you can either go upstairs, jump down this pit, and press this switch to get the skull, or go downstairs and take a teleporter, like a normal person. After getting the red skull, you have to go back to spawn to get the blue skull, jump into this lava pit, open doors, and then just leave. The level is pretty straightforward, but it doesn't mean it's gonna be easy. There are enemies around every corner and waiting for your teleporter arrival. Although, honestly, you're gonna have more problems trying to get the secrets than getting out of here alive. Not because it's hard to find them, or that there's 22 secrets in total. In fact, 21 of them are all practically just here, side by side next to each other. The problem are with these two here. They're completely blocked by these 2 torches, making it, as of now, impossible to get 100% secrets. As if I give a shit. This is the second level, in general, that was made by Sean Green, and for his second level, it's pretty good. Even with a huge mistake with the torches, Sever the Wicked is still a pretty good map, and it only gets even better with the track Ant Farm Melee by composer Lee Jackson? Lee Jackson? That Lee Jackson? Alright, damn, I didn't expect to see him here. In the end, there isn't really much I can say about the level. It's good, and it fits the level slot. Unlike the next map. James 3:8. But the tongue can no man tame. It is an unruly evil, full of deadly poison. E4M4, unruly evil. Other than the specters at the start, evil my ass. Unruly Evil could have been the first map of the episode. In fact, I have a crack theory that this was the first level, but either John Romero or Tim Willits told McGee to make Hell Beneath their first map because they thought it would have been funny. And Tim, if that was you, fuck you. It feels like McGee was trying to go for a theme with his maps in this episode. That being that they're small, but filled with enemies. Although the enemies here are just not enough. Even with the surprise Cacodemons at the end, who are quite literally stuck. Why? No clue. It's not like it really matters anyways, because you can get yourself a Soul Sphere and an Invulnerability in the exact same room, making the entirety of the level just one big chocolate cakewalk. You see what I did there? But no, seriously, why does the map consist only of this brown noise texture? The level is easy as hell and should have just swapped places with Hell Beneath. Even with the track Vitamin B6 by, yet again, Lee Bloody Jackson, it doesn't really change the fact that Unruly Evil is just not good. Luke 16:30. No, Father Abraham, but if someone from the dead goes to them, they will repent. E4M5, they will repent. Yet another level by Tim Willits, but this time with the layout being done by his sister, Teresa Chazar. I was gonna joke and give all the credit of the map to Mrs. Chazar, but honestly, this map isn't really that good, so let's just not stain her name. The level looks fine and is very consistent with its texture work, and the layout that Teresa made is very nice. But that's really all the nice things I can say. The map has a lot of problems. From minor things like this Cacodemon outside this window at the start, and these lost souls in this corner that you can only get to by trudging through boiling blood, or using the rocket launcher's infinitely tall splash damage, to major problems, like being locked out from backtracking near the end if you didn't bother searching for the blue skull key, stopping you from getting 100% kills just because you took a wrong turn, and this window next to the exit that you can easily strafe run through, making the yellow skull key kind of pointless. Although the minor issues are minor, and therefore are not really much of an issue, and the major problems won't be a problem if you just think before moving forward. Except for maybe the window hopping part, you kinda need to do this to reach the BFG secret. Although, I guess it won't really matter if you got the rest of the kills beforehand, so... To me, They Will Repent is just like Tim's other map in the episode. Fear. Which is to say, bland. Just because the texture work is consistent and perfectly aligned doesn't really mean it's good. A little variety would have been nice. Maybe a section of level could have used wood textures, or maybe even red bricks. It could have at least made some of the areas in the map be more distinct. Really, the only thing I like about the map is the layout that DeXiaZ did. But there's only so much that a map layout can do for a level that's barely fun. If it wasn't for Nathan Max's or Lipith's track, Let the Wicked Be No More, the level would be another miss. I mean, it's still a miss, but at least Nathan's track cushions its landing. Psalm 139:20. For they speak against thee wickedly, and thine enemies take thy name in vain. E4M6, against thee wickedly. Wickedly is correct, because after walking down this rocky path at the start, you're going to be in a world of pain, with the capital being this marble fortress that your eyes are laying upon. The only way in is to trudge through the lava, hoping you killed all the specters and cacodemons that are waiting upon your arrival. And holy crap, I cannot wait any longer. Before we continue any further, let's just take a quick break so we can listen to the track that's playing. The track is made by two composers, those being Cami and Peter Lawrence, the latter also going by Megasphere. This track is my favorite throughout the entire MIDI pack, just listen to it. This music track is just amazing, and it's already in a MIDI pack full of other amazing tracks, although the track's name is just atrocious. It's basically called Nightmare 100% Secrets Pistol Start or Perish. Terrible name, but not wrong. If you go into the map pistol starting, you're gonna be in a huge world of pain. And I think because of this, some people really dread this map or even hate it. But I don't do pistol starts, so I don't really care. This is my second favorite level in the entire episode. Which I guess makes sense, this level was also made by John Romero after all. The map has a main gimmick of a central teleporter, that once entered from one of its four sides, will teleport you to the area that side of the teleporter is facing towards. Now that sounds like something you could get lost in, let alone being confusing as all hell, but all you need to do to stay on track is to enter each side clockwise, starting on the side facing where you spawned into the map. So simply, enter portal, do thing, go to portal on the right side, enter portal, you get the idea, right? Taking the backside of the teleporter will lead you to a room with a view of a lava moat, with two locked up buildings. Flipping a switch in the yellow Skull Key building will lower pillars to make a teleporter accessible, which will lead you to the red Skull Key. Once grabbed, platforms will rise and a cyber demon will be summoned into existence. Which is fine, just run along, take an optional detour for this BFG, go into this hole, get an invulnerability, and nuke the cyber demon's squeezable ass. I think a lot of people hated this cyber demon encounter, and if they did, I'll be on the contraire. I imagine this encounter feeling like a chase scene, with the cyber demon trying to gun you down as you run to the other side, to then find the invulnerability that'll give you a chance to face the cyber demon head on. I mean, why else would John make the pathway build up towards the area near the secret? Look, I'm getting too carried away. This is just another amazing map 6 and another home run for John. And the track Nightmare 100% Secrets Pistol Start or Perish just adds more to the already overfilled plate. Revelation 6:8. And I looked, and behold a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him. E4M7, and hell followed. Ladies, gents, theys, thems, and everyone else I can't fan this sentence without running out of breath and passing out on the floor and dying from lack of air in my lungs, put your hands together for a very special guest. And sadly, no, it's not Gary Coleman. Instead, it's guest author John W. Anderson, better known as Dr. Sleep. He was a well-known member of the Doom community back in the day. I say he's most well-known for two of his maps, those being Dante's Gate and Crossing Acheron, or Acheron. Both of them were released before even any sophisticated editing tools were even available, and apparently he briefly worked on Blood between the Augusts of 94 and 95. Interesting. Anyways, he's here to give us an easy penultimate level. Although, unlike Fear, where I believed that to be a Doom 2 map turned into a Doom 1 level, Hell Followed is quite literally a Doom 2 map turned into a Doom 1 level, originally going under the file name of Charon.wad. Although, I don't think this Doom 2 version of the map was ever released. I could be wrong though. I mean, how the hell else do we know that the file name was Charon.wad? As I said, the level is easy, to the point that this could have been the episode's map 4. Kind of like how Unruly Evil should have been map 1. The map mainly consists of wood-finished hallways, 90-degree turns, and floors and ceilings that can instantly lower and rise. Instant rising and lowering sectors is a mapping trick that exploits a bug in the way that sectors detect which floor to move up or down to that causes them to change heights instantaneously with no detectable movement animation. Or at least that's what the Doom Wiki says. I'm not really sure how to describe on how it works without yapping up a storm, plus whenever I use them in my maps, it's with a generalized action feature that newer Doom standards have, so yeah. Back on topic, the level is super simple. As a matter of fact, there are 3 skull keys in this map, and only one of them are actually important, and that's the red one. The blue and yellow skull keys aren't required for leaving the map. The only reason why you need the blue skull key is so you can find the yellow one. And the only reason why you need the yellow scroll key is to open this yellow door. That's not indicated as a yellow door anywhere. Likely due to it being a secret. Within the secret, you can find a BFG, Soul Sphere, and an Involt. Oh, and this bastard. I don't understand the Cyber Demon encounter. Why is it locked away in a single hidden room with power-ups and a super weapon that I can easily use to cheese it? Is it just meant to scare unexpecting players or something? Actually, I don't really care. In general, the level is good, but it's practically screaming to be in an earlier level slot, which kinda sucks because the track by Lipeth, dubbed Path of the Pale Horse, I get it, is really good and fits with the dark theme of the map. I just wonder how the Doom 2 rendition would fare. Proverb 5:9. Lest thou give thine honor unto others, and thine years unto the cruel. E4M8 unto the cruel. Oh, great, it's map 8 again. Alright, let me open up this secret so I can prepare myself for yet another pathetic boss battle. Oh my god! Okay then. Oh, cool, I need a red skull key. And here it is. Ah, shit. Alright, well, now I need to get the yellow skull key. Well, if the red one is behind the marble face, then obviously the yellow one has to be behind the other. Or not. Oh shit. Oh shit! Is this an actual level? Who the hell made this? Hey, look at you, Sean Green! This is the last level, from what I can tell, that Sean Green has ever made. And honestly, good note to end on. By making a level 8 that doesn't suck ass. I mean, the level is still pretty easy and short, especially when not pistol starting, like any other level, but at least it's something more than just a single room that goes straight into the boss arena. It actually gives you some kind of challenge. One last gauntlet before the final boss. It's just so refreshing. It still doesn't change the fact that the boss is the Spider Mastermind again, and therefore it's easy as all hell, but at least Sean Green tried. Although sadly, there isn't really much I can say about the level, especially since there isn't anything new or bad in my eyes like the previous map 8s to even mention. It's just another map 8, but this time done well. So instead, let's talk about the track The Eternal Emptiness by The Ultimate Doomer 666. It doesn't sound like the music for a final level of an episode, but more like the track for a final level of an entire game. The music isn't badass or something you can bob your head to, but it's more like a track that plays when you're overcoming something, after fighting for so long. And honestly, this fits perfectly for our protagonist, Doom Guy. Ever since he realized he was the last one alive out of his group on Phobos, he fought tooth to nail to get out alive, fighting innocent humans that have been possessed by Hell's forces, dealing with unspeakable horrors that no man or woman can even perceive, traveling between dimensions, killing demons that can easily rip him apart, send him ablaze, or even devour him alive. But yet, he still pushed on, clearing out the overrun Phobos base, finding himself in the lost Deimos base, and finally making the big march through Hell itself, just to come home and find the demons have already made a mockery of his efforts. To me, that's what this music represents. It's a track that plays when you're about to triumph over the impossible, and it's the perfect track to send off Doom 1. Oh, you son of a... Okay, there, let's leave. The Spider Mastermind must have sent forth its legion of Hellspawn before your final confrontation with that terrible beast from Hell. But you stepped forward and brought forth eternal damnation and suffering upon the Horde, as a true hero would in the face of something so evil. Besides, someone was gonna pay for what happened to Daisy, your pet rabbit. But now, you see spread before you more potential pain and gibbitude, as a nation of demons run amok in our cities. Next stop, Hell on Earth.
Okay, that was Doom. The game, the myth, the thing that just exists.
This game has definitely aged, or, is not up to the standards that people have for games nowadays. The level design has definitely not held up in some regards, to the point where some levels are just boring or grueling to go through. But honestly, what did you expect? Most of the maps were made by Sandy Peterson, someone who joined id Software late into the game's development, where he had to learn a new game engine that barely anyone outside of id Software has ever seen and or worked on, and he had to rework and fix up levels that the guy he replaced didn't get a chance to finish up. I'm not saying you should blame Sandy Peterson if you think the game is bad. I'm saying that there are reasons on why some of the maps aren't as good as others. Also, pin the blame on Tim Willits instead. The opinions I've given to each of the levels are just that, opinions. It's obviously not a definitive answer that you or anyone else should take as gospel. It's honestly better for you and other people to just buy Doom, play through the episodes, and form your own opinion. Which could really be said about anything, but, Even though it's a relic of its era, it's one of those games that's worth playing through at least once in your life. And hey, with the recent re-release by Night Dive Studios, right now is the best time to dig in, start playing, and kill some demons. And in general, it feels really good to be in the classic Doom community right now. I do recommend that if you play Doom 1, that you play through one episode at a time, because if you do a marathon of all 4 episodes, you're likely going to get burned out of the game fast. Also, speaking of the community, I do kind of want to talk about it, talking about all the creative and innovative things that came from it, but I feel like that would be more appropriate to talk about after going over Doom 2. Someday. Hell, if you want, I can talk about communities and fan bases in general, because that'll totally be an interesting topic.
Anyways, I think it's time for us to wrap up this conversation. I've been talking for way too long, and honestly, I just need to shut off my brain for the rest of the day. So it was nice talking to you, and hopefully I'll see you some other time. And if you excuse me, I'm gonna go play something else other than Doom, because holy shit, I just went through 4 fucking episodes. Christ.